first of all, congratulations. Tell me exactly what you've landed.
Oh, thank you. I've just been elected to the chair of the United Nations Committee for Associated Country Women of the World, which is a global organisation with member societies in 74 different countries, and we're representing about 9 million women throughout the world.
9 million,
Yeah,
she
just
says, it just flows off the tongue.
I know, and what we do is we advocate on their behalf. We have consultative status with the United Nations, so we go to the UN in New York, Geneva and Vienna, and talk on behalf of the rural women of the world in terms of the issues that they have around women's rights, women's empowerment, health, education, sustainable food, rights to land, rights to finance, so and trying to make a better world for them.
It's a real big challenge. So
It's a huge challenge. Yeah.
Your role is exactly what?
I'm chair of that United Nations Committee, so we'll be pulling together the advocacy that we take to the United Nations with the committee, who are made up of members from around the world. So yeah, a really challenging and quite exciting new role.
Oh, absolutely. And once again, seriously, very, very well done and congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Life Education Trust.
Yes, well, Rural Women New Zealand this year, as they do every year, have a fundraising project. And this year we've chosen the Life Education Trust, Harold the giraffe that goes around all the schools, mainly because it's the 25th year of the Life Education Trust. And Rural Women have been heavily involved with the trust right throughout that time. We were quite involved at the start of the trust in setting up the first mobile schoolrooms, with a lot of fundraising and advocating for that to happen. So we felt it was really timely that we again support them in their 25th year. So a lot of our branches around the country are doing fundraising things to help raise money for these mobile classrooms, which do an amazing job going around the schools and teaching children about health, life skills and all sorts of amazing topics that
25 years they've been doing it.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? So really good to be able to support that and ensure that our children are getting the best education we can.
Excellent. Now, speaking of the ACWW.
Yes, it's a lot easier than the full word.
Exactly. You just had a conference?
Yes, the World Conference. It's been in Coventry in the UK. It's held every 3 years. In 2019, it's actually in Melbourne, Australia, so it's a lot closer to home.
And that'll be cheaper for you.
It will be. But yes, we've had a delegation at the World Conference from New Zealand, from Rural Women New Zealand, because we are affiliated to that, which is really great because it allows the women of New Zealand to also have a voice on that global stage, which is really good.
You looked at food?
We did look at food. A lot of the discussions were around sustainable agriculture, food sovereignty, which is all around ensuring land tenure, access to resources and water and everything you need for maintaining good healthy food and the right to grow food, because we must remember that we must remember there's a lot of women around the world who don't have access to land. They're not entitled to own land, not entitled to manage money, and they don't have the access to the resources to grow food for their families. So we were trying to encourage the governments of the world to make sure that women have the opportunity and the right to grow food for their families, and it's in a sustainable way that gives them food security, so they can be sure they're always going to have food for their families.
Must be pretty tough for a widow.
It is, very much so. There are countries, Africa, even in the Pacific, where the women don't have the right to own the land, and once the husband dies, they lose their right to the land. So very, very challenging for them in terms of looking after their families. So this was a huge issue for us to ensure that...
You've taken off a pretty big chunk, haven't you?
We have. So,
sustainable energy.
Sustainable energy, yes, of course. Many of the forms of creating energy are actually polluting the world in terms of coal and gas and things. And so we're looking at trying to create more sustainable energy forms. And it's one of the Sustainable Development Goals is ensuring that the world develops sustainable, ongoing access to good energy.
And what about things like water? I mean, that's a huge issue, isn't it?
It is, and protecting the water resource, because there's so many demands on water, as we know here in New Zealand. It's a constant challenge for us here as well, and we must realise that very little of the water that is actually used for drinking. It's used for all kinds of things: food production. It's used for washing the dishes, having a shower, washing the car, doing the laundry. The actual amount of water you use in your home is actually very little of it's for drinking. So we need to protect that resource and encourage people to develop water-saving devices, water-saving systems, and ways that they can use the grey water instead of using our fresh water all the time, and also reducing anything that's going to pollute our water resource.
What about people's health? Do you cover that as well, sort of vaccinations and things?
We do. There's a number of diseases that are on the point of eradication, and if we can just keep our governments and health departments vaccinating against those, we can eliminate those. And that's things like polio. It's very close to being eliminated throughout the world, and we really want that to happen. So we're trying to encourage governments to keep those vaccination programs going.
Because we don't sort of think about polio in New Zealand.
No,
but
we
used to
don't.
drink those little wee.
I know. We do, and smallpox is about the only disease that actually has been eradicated. We think even of tuberculosis as being gone, but we still see it. Even in New Zealand, it still occurs.
So things like the civil society and all that sort of thing comes under your umbrella as well?
It does. We talked a lot about gender equality and encouraging governments to ensure that gender is an aspect of all their policies and the development. And in terms of gender-friendly budgeting, which is about programs that support the empowerment and growth of women and women's initiatives and removal of things that impinge on women's rights. You know, it could be family violence, it could be access to finance, all those things that make the world a better place for women and children to live in.
As I said, you've bitten off a very, very big chunk.
I have indeed.
Kerry, thank you very much. And please, please, please keep us in touch with what's going on around the world. That would be great.